Adebayo, former SDP presidential candidate, joins me now in the studios for more on this development. Very warm welcome to
Good to see you, Chris.
Why would you, conclude like that when Mr. President said the reforms, are already yielding fruit and due to Nigeria's resilience, endurance, and support?
Well, the president lives in a big house, closeted somewhere in Abuja. Even when he went to Ibadan, he flew into an airport which people like you and I cannot fly into. So he's being shielded from the reality. And our job is to tell him the reality, now that he still has about 2 years to try to make an amend. The economy has not turned a corner. The president is standing on the wrong side of the road. So he's blindsided. He's not able to see where the economy is. He's done a few reforms regarding managing his own finances, that is the macroeconomic management of how much money, for example, they make from taxation. He's done something regarding dealing with ways and means. But those things are working in the dark, which the Nigerian people cannot see, because in the area where macroeconomics intersect with the microeconomics of people and of firms and families, is done nothing. So it's the equivalent of someone who spends so much money to buy a generator but has not turned on the generator, or turns on the generator but has not connected the electricity to the people. You cannot tell them, I spent 90 billion on generators. They say we cannot see the light. Why do I say so? One, the indicator regarding inflation is very poor. There has been a downward trend in inflation to about 20.1% or 20.9%. However, if you look at it, it's because they have rebased the calculation, the indicators.
But even the indicators that have been rebased is reflective in the retail markets today. Prices of commodities, of goods are coming down.
No, if you put the basket together, you will see that, for example, there is a temporary reprieve in the area of food inflation. So when you put food inflation in the basket, that drops inflation overall. But if you look at it, it's because it's a seasonal thing. Secondly, even when it comes down, it hasn't come down to meet the living wages of the people. So if you say, for example, you had a bag of rice for 120,000 naira, if it comes down to 80,000, it has come down, but it hasn't reached the level where someone who earns 70,000 a month can afford it.
The question is, what does somebody who earns 70,000 a month need a bag of rice for?
Yeah, well, so maybe you eat a bag of sand because now Tinubu is president. But rice should not be a luxury. What is happening is that the president has not invested in the people. He's not invested in the areas that can affect the people, like agriculture. He's not invested in infrastructure. If you travel around the country the way I do, they put signboards everywhere and take photos, but you'll see potholes everywhere. It's not affected employment. I come from large families, and I know many people have friends and families. When last did you hear somebody who say, I got a new job? So, and if you look at the people who have employment already, their living wages or their income is not able to pay even the most basic living expenses that they have. Then he hasn't dealt with anything that has to do with growing the GDP. It's still growing at a very, very slow pace that is not even matching population growth. If you look at competitiveness in the sub-region, for example, where we are the dominant economy in West Africa, it's not able to, we are the ninth weakest currency. I'm not talking of the dinars and dirhams of Morocco and Tunisia and all of that. I'm saying Gambian Dalasi, the Ghanaian cedi, and currencies of actually structurally weak economies. We're not able to compete with them. And the reason why we can't do that is because of the inflationary spending by the government. So what is happening is that President Tinubu is an accountant. He's sitting down in the villa, and his subordinates are cooking figures for him. And when he compares the two figures, like an auditor, he spends his life as an auditor. So he looks at the figures, okay, this is better than this. But neither this nor that is relevant to the person who is on the street, because clearly what you call an economy, from the point of view of an ordinary person, is that When you have low skill, semi-skill, or fully skilled career, you want a job. When you need a house to stay and you want to pay for that house, you want to make sure that not more than 20% of your income goes into housing. Look at transportation costs. If you want to go to work or you want to pay your workers to come to work. If you look at the ability to save, we don't have that. Access to credit, we are still at 27% interest rate. And necessarily, CBN has to be at 27% interest rate because they are dealing with 20-something% paper inflation, which is higher in reality. So this conundrum does not allow the president to be able to address the need of the people. So he cannot tell the youth of Ibadan now that, oh, congratulations, you have a new Olubadan. But in the next 1 year, I'm going to employ 10% more of Ibadan youths. He's not saying any of that. He's asking them to increase their patience by 50%. And he's making promises that look more like religious statements. You know, like I grew up with people telling me Jesus is coming back, endure, and things like that. But when you're only a government, you don't have an eternity like Christianity. You have like 2 years more. After 2 years, President Tinubu will not be president again. So in that kind of situation, what does he want to do within the next 2 years?
I want to quickly,
those are the issues.
sorry to cut in here. Yes. I want to bring you to the agricultural renaissance that President Tinubu launched a couple of months ago with 2,000 trucks and over 100 billion naira or so, you know, for farmers and MSMEs. And that seems to be taking root. That's why the National Bureau of Statistics gave, you know, an increase in the nation's GDP, falling inflation, and increase in or falling commodity prices in the market, so which translates to increase in the purchasing power of the people.
No, you see, these are too marginal. They're too contestable.
He has said it's gradual. The last 2 years, it's a reform. Okay. It's a process that his government is going through.
There are alternative plans. You know, if you look at, you were well fast in international economics. When the Workers' Party got to Brazil, they look at the environment, they know they have 4 years to go. They came with the Bossa Familia. And in 2 years, in the 4 years, they've reduced poverty by 78%. What President Tinubu is doing will work if he's going to be a live president. And everybody is going to be doing dry fasting, waiting for him for 25 years. There's no such room. When you are in a situation like this, you dump this program they are following. You're now going to core economic programs. Now, for example, you look at the amount of money they said they spend on this agricultural renaissance. The renaissance failed in 3 areas. One, it does not resonate with security, where farmers have access to farmlands. It does not resonate with providing input, credit input, where you know if I start a farm, I can get tractors, I can get fertilizers, I can get seedling. It does not resonate with having a compulsory or guaranteed buyback, where you know if I produce maize, the maize is going to be purchased by the government or by some insurance policy if I'm not able to sell it competitively in the market.
That's where you have the strategic reserve or silos and the rest.
Exactly. Now, it doesn't have infrastructure, where if I produce, I'm a rice farmer, for example. I farm rice in Adamawa State, I farm in Taraba. I have not seen Tinubu or any of his people coming to assist me in any way. They don't give me rice paddy. I know how much I spent this year on rice paddy. And when I produce my rice, to transport my rice from Adamawa, Mayobalua in Adamawa to Lagos, it costs me more than somebody bringing rice from Thailand. So they haven't addressed any of these issues. And I am saying that time is going. President Tinubu is not a live president. He's a man elected for 4 years who has essentially spent 2 years in the dressing room. You know, when you are going with a fine lady to a party, And the party starts at 1 o'clock. And by 7 p.m., the lady is still making her eyelashes in the studio. That is what President Tinubu is doing. What he should have known before coming into government is what he's trying to know now. And the time is running out. And he's going to tell us to follow him for another 4 years. And I can tell you, he's going to double poverty again. And that's going to make us the poverty capital of the world. What he can do now, before his bell rings on him, is that he needs to drop this policy, go to chapter 2 of the Constitution, look at how government is supposed to be done, make the necessary social investment. The money he's spending to try to give the economy some fillip, he's not able to give the economy some fillip because the money is circulating just around the villa and just around the federal secretariat. So they are circulating money among politicians and civil servants and their friends who have a few companies around them. They're not taking the money to where the people are. For example, if certain universities today are being disaccredited because they don't have enough academic staff. So if you do massive recruitment of academic staff, with the money you are collecting now, additional money from taxation, people will get work. Those people, because they are earning low wages, they will spend that money. So that money will create some activity in the economy. If you put money on infrastructure, I will plug my investment to the infrastructure, GDP will rise. Because if President Tinubu cannot stand and say, I'm going to give you 9% growth, like Ethiopia is doing, with less resources than us, just basically by building dams and other infrastructure, investing in state enterprises, expanding their airlines, do tourism, do so many other things. He doesn't want to do any big business. He just wants to sit down in the villa with his friend, using a laptop to cook numbers and come out occasionally when they are coronating kings. That's the only time he comes out to talk about the economy.
I'm very sure the presidency will have their own voice in this matter to give their own story anytime on Arise News. Okay. I want to thank you very much, Adebayo, the Social Democratic Party presidential candidate in the 2023 presidential election.
Thank you, and God bless Nigeria.
Thank you.